Could the college football playoff be expanding to 14 or 16 teams? And is the SEC and the Big Ten leading the charge on that change based almost entirely on how the first 12-team playoff went for them? What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. Hit that subscribe button and like the video and answer this question in the comments below. Do you think the college football playoff should expand to 14 or 16 teams? Because we've got momentum that it's gonna do one or the other, and there are really interesting possibilities for 14 and 16 that have everything to do with the seeding and, you know it, money. Because college football is big time. College football is in a very healthy spot. College football is making lots and lots of money. But now we are getting into the point where you might be alienating some people, they think, right? The NFL has proven to be the most indestructible force in American society. Doesn't matter what's going on politically, doesn't matter what's going on economically, doesn't matter if we are in the middle of an actual plague. We're going to play football, we're going to watch people play football. That's what professional football, NFL football, that's what we're going to do. College football, not quite there, but it's damn close, especially as you get to see more of these college football playoff games make it to broadcast television and not just cable television, to say nothing of what the streaming numbers might do. But there are a couple of notes that I want to discuss while we get to Greg Sankey telling everybody that would listen, that college football playoff selection committee needs to be reined all the way in. And I don't like the way the 12-team playoff went down. Yeah, dog, because y'all got froze out of the national championship game because your SEC champion got beat down, and the Alabama team you thought should be in got beat down by a Michigan team that we knew shouldn't have been in. I mean, there's lots of things we go here that Tennessee got just absolutely rammed by the Buckeyes. You want to keep riding that train? Is that what you want to do? I mean, because you can. You want to see what Texas was doing to Ohio State? Because you can. You know what I'm saying? Now, Big Ten, they got their own bone to pick. But I think this is interesting, right? Especially as we're getting close to another meeting of the college football playoff selection committee management, or not selection committee, college football playoff management, which is 10 conference commissioners and the athletic director at Notre Dame, as it's been. But a couple of years ago, the Big Ten and the SEC said, hey, we're the two most powerful people in this room, and we want to be treated like this. Otherwise, we might just break off and do our own thing. And that really would hurt the rest of college football more than it would hurt the SEC and the Big Ten, but everybody would suffer there. So it's in everybody's best interest to let the Big Ten and the SEC lead, or so you think. So as many people understand this thing that is the memorandum of understanding that allows for the SEC and Big Ten commissioners to call the shots, they got discretion over the college football playoff selection committee selection format in 2026. And in the beginning of the new 6-year television agreement with ESPN that is worth, I kid you not, $7.8 billion through 2031. Not a small number. And if you're ESPN, you're a stakeholder in this. You want to know what the hell it is that they're thinking about doing. Well, what they're thinking about doing is a 14 or 16 team model that would allow for 4 automatic qualifiers, 4 from the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 from the ACC and Big 12, and then 1 to the highest ranked group of 5 champion. And then 3 at-large spots, 1 that would probably be intended for Notre Dame, as they're at the table, and only if it finishes in the top 14, and then a guarantee specifically designed for Notre Dame, basically in there. Then we get the 4-4-2-2-1 plus 1 scenario. That's your 14. What's interesting about that is it's got buys in it, and you have first-round buys, right? In the 16-team format, there aren't any. I don't know how people would feel about that. I'm in favor of no buys, but the buys got to be – we all have to agree on how you can get the buys, right? I like it when we go straight into a single elimination tournament. Problem with that is you can get single eliminated. So if you get your 1, your 2, and your 3, and your 4 all knocked out, it could look a lot like it did this past year, which is not bad considering that we ended up with some brand names there at the end. But it wasn't exactly how it was supposed to go according to the seeding and according to the selection committee process that they envisioned when they had 5 Power 5 conferences, and now we're down to 4, right? So you got to relook at that, and that's really a great impetus for opening this thing up. But the bottom of that is if the SEC had 4 teams in, and they had 4 teams in the college football playoff semifinals, I don't know that Greg Sankey would be throwing this much of a tantrum. However, I do think Big Ten would be throwing that much of a tantrum. If it could happen to the SEC, it could happen to the Big Ten, right? So it's in their best interest to work together here. In a 14-team playoff, you get your first-round games already, clogging television windows and having to work around whatever the NFL is deciding to do. In a 16-team one, you get 4 more games and 8 first-round games instead of 4. Does that give you a little bit more flexibility, or is that just too much inventory? You also are doing a thing that I think is important to acknowledge, but I don't know how much credence I give to it. There are some folks that believe that you would be really aggravating the viewer. You might alienate an entire part of the country if they believe that you have just rigged this thing so that the SEC and the Big Ten get 8 teams into a 14-team tournament. And the rest of us would be like, well, there are 16 teams over there, and there are 18 teams over there. And those teams represent the best of what college football has been in the playoff era. And if we're going to take it all the way back to the BCS, that's true too. Especially if you look at the brands that were represented in those national championship games, right? Think about Oklahoma. Think about Florida State. Think about USC. Think about Florida. Think about LSU, right? Think about Texas. Think about what Alabama became. Think about what Clemson became. That's really the only new money that has won a national championship in the 21st century. When it gets down to the nitty gritty and the hog molly, it's all about, hey, giving everybody the what, for, and the how now on how it is that you get down. And that's a short list, man. You got Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State. Tennessee ain't in that club. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying here. Ole Miss ain't in that club. Hell, Penn State ain't in that club. Oregon gets to play in the national championship, so they're in that club. But keep going down the line. Why does SMU get a spot here is, I guess, the question people want to ask, right? And it'd be like, because on the field they proved this. Well, we still don't like it. And that's what college football has always been. We still don't like it. We don't believe you. We don't trust you. It's why we might put in teams that got 2 losses against teams that ain't got no losses in the playoff, because we think that team is a better football team by what we have seen from both of these programs and their opponents. You're not going to get a consensus on this. That's the other reason I think the SEC and the Big Ten are also going to put their finger on the scale. They know that too. But if the two of them can agree on what the format should be, and by the way, in a 14 team, I don't think there's going to be any real conversation about revenue going up. 16 teams, definitely not, right? ESPN is like, if I'm reading this right, and I might be, right? I might not be. Why would I want to pay y'all more when we got already in place this deal that says we're going to pay y'all X amount and y'all play whatever y'all want to play? We'll put it on television. It's going to be interesting, especially as the sub-licensing stuff continues to happen. Like, it was weird to watch those sub-license games on TNT. It was weird because it was an ESPN broadcast, but without any of the ESPN flair, and it just kind of felt like an outer-body experience as they're trying to only talk about what's going on here without being able to throw it to other stuff and other games, and then the score bugs were just weird. I don't know anybody wants that, man. Like, I'm serious. Like, I don't think that that's what we get into this for. Like, yeah, we assign brand to what we're watching. Big Noon Kickoff is different than College Game Day, right? We know the Saturday night game is ESPN. We know the big game at noon is Fox. We know that CBS is trying to carve out a space where they get to have the Big Ten game. It's happening like that. Same thing with with NBC, but NBC is always going to be the home of Notre Dame football, and that's what we know. I don't think that expanding the playoff is a bad thing. I know many of you do. I know many of you hate the playoff being expanded, but you're going to age out. Other people are going to age in. They're only going to know the college football playoff. That's just what's going to happen. So get on the good foot and join the rest of us. But I also need to point out, they play a 24-team playoff in the FCS, and they have done it for some time, and it works. You know who ends up winning those championships? The same damn teams. North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State. It's real hard to break in that level, and they play a 24-team playoff. And yet the team that any of y'all know is North Dakota State. That's the one y'all know. Now y'all getting to know South Dakota State. Some of y'all getting to know South Dakota, right? Some of y'all learned Idaho was an FCS team just a few. Point here being, it's not the playoff, dog. The playoff expanding is not going to change who gets into the playoff. It's also not going to change who, it will change who gets into the playoff. It will not change who wins the national championship. Okay? So as far as I'm concerned, I love watching football. I love watching good football. And there's good football at every level. But at this level, I'm going to take as much football as you can give me, especially as, getting hard and harder and harder to find real good football games between now and August. So August to January, February, give me all the football you can, baby. All of it. Give me them Tuesday night matches. Right here. I'm a fiend. I'm an addict. Love watching this game. Love watching this sport. Give me as much as you can. And if you want to give me more playoff games, I'm going to take them too.